interested in writing, and if you see my Medium blogs, there will be a few content about Mulesoft as well. That's about me in short. Sevket, you can continue with your short introduction.
Yes, I'm Sevket Ozturk. Actually, I started programming while I was 8, and for multiple years I have developed backend applications, then started jumping into integration. For last couple of years, actually, in Netherlands also, I'm working as integration specialist on multiple different projects, and of course, so I will today try to share some knowledge with you guys.
Yes, thanks, Sevket. By the way, I'm working for Gazelle, one of the leading bike companies. We have our colleagues as well from Bike Group here. Thanks, Sergio, Christina, and others for joining as well. Yes, let's continue. Yeah, I think we are done with our welcome and introduction. The next part will be like we'll continue with our Java 17 upload. Before that, I just inform you. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this. We will be seeing this Mulesoft release channels from Mule runtime of 4.5. Like Mulesoft introduced two different new channels, which is Edge and long-term support. Edge is like the release cadence which they announced is like for every 3 times, like per year, February, June, and October, and for versions from 4.5 to 4.7 with some support coverage. They introduced the Edge channel type, and the LTS is nothing but the long-term support channel, which is like they do the fixes, fix versions, and other things every annual. So there are two types of release channels. Out of which they introduced these things like from 4.5 H. I think we can see this also in the Mulesoft documentation as well. What is the end of the standard support and end of the extended support for each Mule runtime versions. And we can also see like we each runtime versions with supporting Java versions as well. And if we go to the let's discuss about like upgrading to Java 17. Now Mulesoft is now adopting to Java's long-term support release channel, beginning with Mule runtime 4.6. So from 4.6, we can see that it's also starts supporting that 8, 11, and 17, which means that 8 and 11 are backward compatible. And the transition begins with 4.6 release. If you see this table, we have a clear picture, like as we already talked ahead before, like with 4.9 LTS and 4.9 Edge, the only Java version which it supports is Java 17 and no more 8 and 11. And why upgrading to Java 17 with Mule 4.6? Do you see, maybe you might be having questions like, why do we need to move to Java 17? Okay, Java 8 is really very old, and even Java, they themselves were trying to end the support of Java 8 and start moving away from Java 8. Moreover, it's not just from the documentation perspective, but also we experienced ourselves that there is a boosted performance from Java 17. Once we move to Java 17, the applications are running smoother than the one which we have in Java 8. I am moving the screens. You can't see the screens?
Yeah, maybe join back, Suman. Is anyone having an issue seeing this shared screen at the moment? Anyone else? Then I will advise, yeah, drop and join back maybe, Suman. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Now let's jump into the steps for upgrade. Okay, the first and foremost steps, like we came up with different steps on how we did from our end, so that it will be also helpful for you and like to do by yourself. These are really the steps which we followed. The first step is like we upgraded our Anypoint Studio. To be honest, I used to work on 7.11 Anypoint Studio before I'm upgraded to 7.17, because now I have to move to, because all my the Java runtime and JDK which I used to have in my system is about Java 8. When I moved to Java 17, I thought it would be good an option. It should be, we should also upgrade the Anypoint Studio to 7.17 or later. That's the first step. And in the Maven configurations, the the must and important you have to do is that you have to check your Maven plugin version. The previous plugin versions before 4.1.1 doesn't support that if you are moving to Java 17. So you have to change after 4.1.1. That's the second step in the Maven configurations of your pom.xml. And make sure that you also have your Maven version, which is about 3.8. And this you can see in your if you go to the window preferences under the Maven section, you need not use the embedded Maven installation. You can also use the one which you install by yourself, but make sure that you have you have very recent Maven install. That will help with your smooth process of migration. And in the pom.xml, that we also need to have this runtime as 4.6. If you are using Java 17, then it would be like this. And plugin version, which I said like above 4.1. I'm using 4.2.1 now, but at least this should be mandatory. And this point, setting the min mule version to 4.6.0 is not mandatory, but it's just a recommendation. You can still have 4.4.0 as your min mule version, where it still works, but the recommendation is to use the min mule version as 4.6.0 so that most of your connectors will be compatible. And along with this, the next step which you have to keep in your mind is to check for the dependencies in your pom.xml and go through the documentation of what is the release version which is supporting Java 8, 11, and 17. There are a lot of Java 17 compatible versions which have been changed. So you have to make sure that all your versions are up to date according to the Java 17 compatible connectors. In case if you're using different connectors, all the connectors which you are using has to be updated in your pom.xml in your dependencies. And also, as we mentioned, we should also have this custom connectors in case if you have Java applications or Java based connectors which you have created as a custom connector, then you should also make sure that that is supporting Java 17. Once these steps are done, and you have to configure a studio build path to run on Java 17, it's like backward compatible as well. So you can see Java 17 embedded and Java 8 embedded. After you install all your Java 17 and update to Java 17, and still you can run on Java JDK 8 embedded as well. So with all these steps, all these are the prior important steps which you have to take care while you are upgrading from 4.4 or before 4.4 runtimes, like after 4.2, 4.3 or whatever. If you have to move to 4.6 and also to Java 17, then these are the minor and important steps which you have to consider. I don't think this is going to take a long time, but the only thing which you have to make sure is that you have to have your compatible connectors at the same time. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm not following the charts. Maybe in case if you have questions, you can also raise your hand and you can ask directly as well.
I will interrupt you when at the moment not relevant question. Maybe we can get back to that later. But when there is relevant questions, I will interrupt. All right.
Okay, sure. And the other important consideration which we have to consider is about while doing the Java 17 migration is error handling updates. There are really very breaking changes. In case if we don't do this, our error handling fails in some cases. Maybe if we are having this really tied with this kind of error or error type and other things in our error handling, then that results in breaking our code. So it's very important to have these considerations. These are for anyhow in the demo also we will be showing you like how this works with Java 8 and Java 17 with a small demo, like okay, if we use this in Java 8 and how this behaves, and if we move to Java 17, how does that behave. So these are the important considerations which you need to consider while doing your Java 17 migrations. At the same time, we also need to consider about the policies update. In case if you have your API manager like client ID enforcement or different policies if you are already using in your API manager, then you have to update your policies. You will see an option to update at your policy itself. So you just need to click on update. That's it. So once you update it, it will be compatible. Otherwise, you will be seeing in your runtime logs that an error occurred while registering your policy. So to make sure that your policies are also compatible, then you just need to update them. That's it. There is nothing much. Go to your policies, open the policy which you have update, which you need to, which you have applied for your APIs or for your applications, and then you just need to see there will be an place to update it. You just need to update it. That's it. And to make the custom policy visible in the API manager, I think there is and clear documentation on this part. You can go through this will be shared, and this you can go through this link. This really explain very well on how you have to do your custom policy for migrating your applications to Java 17 in case if you're using your custom policies.
Padma, I think number one, actually, for me, it failed even in the pipeline while I was trying to deploy. Just an FYI.
Okay. Thank you, Satish. Okay, so after successful migration, once you have your successful migration, you will be able to see something like this. If you are with 4.4 runtime or as such, you will not be able to see any of other channels. Like as I mentioned in the first slide, it's always none. So now it has been changed to long time support, and with 4.6.9, 12 as an build part, major, minor, patch, and build. And if you use the Edge version, you will be able to see E at the end, but we are not using Edge. So it's just it's a long-term support. And the Java version here, you will be able to see it as Java 17 in your Cloud App applications. And we are still using 1.10 itself. So this you just look, it looks like this in your Cloud Hub application of 1.0. If it is 2.0, I'm not really sure. I don't know if you have experience with 2.0. Anyone in this group, you can also share your insights here. That's from 1.0 Cloud Hub. Now, we want to do this with an use case considering an SAP connector. I don't know how many of you have an experience with connecting with SAP over here. Being an like the we do connect with SAP, and we also wanted to share like what are the major things that we need to consider while we are moving from Java 8 to Java 17 with respect to SAP connector. So as I said, we need to update the the connector versions in the pom.xml with your dependencies. So you need to fetch the latest version. I think it's 5.9.13 or 14. So check in the documentation and we can plug in the latest version. So that's the first important step. And for connecting to SAP, the three important libraries which we need to have is the JCO libraries, JCO native. I think whoever is having experience with SAP connectors, we are all aware of these libraries. And these libraries you will get from your SAP developers, or also if you have an access to the SAP portal, SAP portal, from the SAP portal itself with the username and password, we can download this specific jars. The major change is like we need to change to 3.1.11 version for the JCO libraries. And if you have to connect to iDoc, it is 3.1.3. In case if you need something on what is this iDocs and what are their RFCs and what is this, how this SAP connector, I created a blog in Medium as well on what is this whole about this SAP connectors and how does SAP RFC and iDocs differs and what does that mean. And we do have different environments, like for Windows, we need to have DLL. For Linux, we need to have SO. And for Mac, we need to have either gnlib or dylib. So, but we need to have the 3.1.11 version or higher versions, but not before that. Otherwise, it fails in your configurations.
Rob has a question, maybe. Yeah, go ahead, Rob. Without skipping too further away.
Yes, Rob.
You are muted still. Yes.
Yes.
I don't know if I should ask this question. at this moment, because you're talking about SAP connectors, but I have a question about SDKs, which used for Java 8. Should I ask this question now or afterwards?
Maybe we can take it afterwards.
Yeah.
Let's continue with this SAP connector first, and then we can continue with our questions. Okay.
Fine for me.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. Okay, so these are how the plugins and the dependencies looks like. So these are the plugins which I'm talking about, the SAP JCO3, IDOC 3, and the ones which are the above ones are the dependencies. Once you update this, you will be able to see this. Your connector should be in green, which means that it was a successful connection. It's established once you have these respective charts or respective libraries in your POM. And these are the many useful reference links which we have as of now for in case if you wanted to connect with like if you are facing issues or from there are many other links provided over here. There are many useful references actually, I would say. It's not, we also initially thought like it's a big lot of chunk of work for moving from 8 to 17, also from 4.4 to 4.6. But when after moving, we thought like it's not that really big as we see. But once we start with one project, one application, it makes our life easier. Okay, to show the same things which we did, I think it's time for demo. Sevket will show you the things like how in error handling part and how we did these things.
Before that, from your top of head, other than this SAP, have you faced some other issues, Padma, for to give us a little bit more maybe precautions for those things?
And I think there are a few couple of data weave functions, maybe like I don't know if that's because of data weave functions are not compatible. They're 2.5, 2.6 are not really much compatible with the older versions of data weave. So we need to tweak a bit over there, or maybe we raised a few Mulesoft help support questions over there. That's something which we observed after moving from like, or maybe because of the studio upgrade as well. So these are the things which we also observed. And apart from that, I think we also face challenges in the pipelines. Sevket can give more insights on that.
Yeah.
And apart from these, I think the only other things is like because we use all our libraries, maybe you know that every project has their own libraries which they defined might be from Mule 3. And from there we converted to Mule 4, and Mule 4 also we do have a very old libraries with very old way of using the data weave functions, and that needs to be upgraded or updated. So those are the things which we have faced in our projects.
You are facing these are on Cloud Hub, right? Not on premise or RTF.
No, not on premise or RTF.
All right. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, let's get into demo.
Yes.
I'll stop sharing, Sevket. Maybe you can take it over.
Yeah, thank you, Padma.
Yeah.
I will try to share my screen. If I can find the right screen, sorry for waiting. Yes. I think you can see my screen right now.
Yes.
Actually, what we have done, we have prepared a template project for you guys. So it is right now designed to work with the runtime 4.4.
Sevket, I think it is too small. That
Is
I'm
it-
not sure if it's visible for everyone.
Is it too small, or do you want me to make it bigger?
I think a bit bigger would help.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a big screen, but let me bring. Yeah, it will be nice, slightly bigger.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can, drop your
Yeah.
resolution.
Just a second. Yeah, this is the lowest resolution screen I have just.
All right.
Just a second. instead of sharing the whole screen, I will going to share only specific parts. So it will be much more better, I guess. Sorry for waiting. I'm trying to find the right window. Yes.
Yeah.
Is that much more readable?
Yeah, better.
Yes.
For me at least. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. We have prepared a sample project actually that is using Mulmaven plugin version for 3 series. Yeah, when you start moving to Java 17 actually, unfortunately, this is one of the main blockers. You cannot go back something lower than 4.2. At least for your local development also, it doesn't matter are you deploying a project with Java 8 or 11 or 17, actually you will going to need something higher than 4.2 series if you want to be able to use all these Java versions at the same time. So if you move everything to Java 8, 11, it is not required. But when you start moving to Java 17, if some of your projects are on 8 and 11, and you are using the also Java 17, you need to move a version that needs to be higher than 4.2 series. App runtime configuration, actually, just a short explanation. For 4.0 is the old runtime version, and the second part is the date release version. So we are using a version from beginning of this year. And the sub-connectors, these are old connectors that we were used also for the sub projects on the Mulesoft 4.4 series. Yeah, all the rest configuration is sub-connectors like Padma mentioned on her presentation. So 3 libraries and picking up the correct library for the environment, and also most of you know that, I guess, secure properties are lifesaver. So as you can see, we are using here also 1.2.3 version. That is not one of the latest versions, but that we will going to use also for the presentation. For the SAP connector, actually, it is nothing much interesting. We are using the original SAP connector of the Mulesoft itself, and we have prepared 2 sample flows for the demonstration. One is a successful request to be able to see that actually our connection is really working and we are getting the response back. And the second one also, as Padma mentioned, the difference on the error handling, like the basic things are changed because of the Java 17, like error.mule message. I think most of you already used at least once mule message dot type value, the mule message dot attributes. While handling the error, you get the original attributes or the payload to be able to reuse or recreate a error handling response or body. But mule message was a reflection functionality that was used by the Mulesoft, and it is now forbidden to use on Java 17. So you cannot rename Java components. This is one of the security improvements parts also by the Java itself. So that also results with a big change on the error handling side. So if you are using error.mule message, it needs to be updated also. So for the run configurations, if I can now open the deployment screen. Yeah. I think a little bit visible. Yes, we are right now deploying with 4.4. And Java runtime is Java 8. You can also use the project JDK or from the dropdown the JDK that you are planning to deploy. If we deploy our project with Java 8, okay, it was already deployed. I will redeploy it. Can you see my whole screen or part of it?
We can, but maybe it's a little bit cut below, so we partially see console part.
Yeah, I will stop and reshare then. Yeah, sorry for that. Is the console part right now visible?
No, it's now a little bit worse. I don't know.
Because of the resolution.
Yes, now, yeah, okay. I think that should suffice. Yeah, we can see the console part.
Yeah. So right now, when we send the request to SAP by using the Java 8, as you can see, it is successful sent. This was only a sample request, actually one of the existing functionalities that we are using. Nothing interesting, actually, getting some deliveries about a customer. And here we can see actually that we received a real response back from the SAP with some data in it. I will not going to dive into the data part. We are not interested on that part. But with the error handling. So this part actually, this request is designed to fail because this is expected to fail. It is a not known function by the SAP right now. So after it fails, as you can see, I have used a set payload component to create the sample payloads that we are talking on our presentation. So error type as string, mule message, and error.errors. And here we can see that our payload is successfully set with these parameters. So error type is SAP not found. Error message, we didn't get any specific error message back from SAP, but it is still a parameter that is readable and achievable. And there are no child errors in this case, but still these objects are accessible. So this is one of our biggest challenges. So now I will going to stop and we can start moving our project to Java 17. For moving to Java 17, first of all, we will going to need the new Java runtime version and new SAP Connector versions as Padma mentioned. You can download it from the SAP portal. This is also valid for different connectors, different components. We will also going to see that within a short time. To make it faster, actually, I have prepared here a working copy. So we can speed up at least the process. Java 17 parts. Yeah. We just moved to runtime version for 6.12. You can also use a different version, but also technically it is possible to design like like Java 17. But for now, we will going to use the specific for 6.12 version for the deployment. And actually, right now, I will going to remake the deployment by using only Java 17.
If I can talk
Yeah, sure.
about the Java 17, the app runtime version on line 28 behind. Using Java 17 actually make sure that you are going to use LTS. Otherwise, it defaults to Edge, just an FYI, even if you specify LTS. And that is clearly documented in the Cloud Hub deployment. I am talking for Cloud Hub 1.0, which is what we are using. And I have that setting where you can specify a specific version 4.6.12 like you did and LTS in your Cloud Hub deployment properties.
Yeah.
But if you do not specify LTS, I believe it has been, I didn't play with all the combinations, but it's very clear it is actually using Edge as the default, just an FYI.
Yeah.
But if I use Java 17, it was taking my configuration LTS. So
Yeah, correct. Thanks for the information, Satish. Here we will going to use for this demo 4.6 version and Java runtime 17. Right now, our deployment will going to fail because of one small thing. That will also what we want to demo here. And this is one of the error messages you will going to see too many times, I guess, while moving from Java 8 to 17 or 11 to 17. And it has failed. And the reason is secure properties doesn't support this version. So it supports only Java 8 and 11 because while at the beginning, actually, as I demoed, we are using 1, 2, 3 version. That was one of the older versions that works perfectly with Java 8, but doesn't support Java 17. So what we need to do is go to the or the exchange or the websites of the connector or the dependency that we are using and pick a version that supports Java 17. So after that, actually, we can redeploy our project with the correct dependencies. So all the dependencies, everything that is used within the project needs to be able to support Java 17. So most of the time, this also means if you are using a parent or common utils, this kind of internal assets, they need to be also updated. So it is deployed successfully. If we go back our functionalities, this part will going to work without any problem. As you can see, we are still getting response back, and because of the version difference, you see that it is pretty print right now. On the first version, it was a compressed XML. So sometimes maybe we need to also check while changing the dependencies, not only changing the latest version, but you also need to check what is the difference on these versions. What are the minor or minor of major changes? So if we go back to the error handling, it has still failed with the same reason, but this time, yeah, we cannot handle it anymore because, for example, the S-string part, it is not a valid function anymore. So mule message, S-string, and errors are not valid components anymore for the error handling for the Mulesoft itself. So what we can use instead of these functions, instead of these functions, actually, we can use the original reflections. Error type, namespace, or identifier, we need to combine them by ourselves. It is not accessible as combined as before. So it can be combined as a mule function or with the string interpolation. It doesn't matter. The result is the same, but we need to combine and use it by ourselves. This is one of the biggest differences. Error message. It is not mule message anymore, but error message. So when the error occurred, you can access to your attributes and your payloads by using the error message instead of mule message. And errors called as error.child errors. So if we make this change, the small change, and redeploy our project, so this also means if you are using a common error handler, if you adapt your common error handler to work with Java 17, you don't need to worry about anymore. So it will be much more easier and faster to moving to Java 17. It is deployed successfully, and as we can right now see, it will going to fail on the component. Yes, and the next one, it is successfully transformed, and as you can see, the payloads as we created on the first one, we can still get the same results, same expected functionality without any problem. So right now we have a working Java 17 project. We moved successfully everything to Java 17. So depends on the complexity of your project. Maybe you need to make a couple of changes like this. But after you start moving your main assets, the parents, the communities to latest versions, actually, everything will going to be going much more faster. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Sevket. I think we can go to Q&A sessions. I guess we have already a couple of questions in the chat, but maybe I can take the first question and ask Sevket that what is your computer spec, because the Anypoint Studio deployments are quite fast. I'm using 32 gigs M3 Mac, and it's
Nope, actually, I'm using a custom built Tuxedo laptop with E9 24 threads with 64 MB RAM.
All right. Okay. Kind of explain. All right. Yeah. Windows, right?
Windows and Linux. The original of the laptop is Linux.
All right. All right. That explains. All right. We had one question. Actually, you replied a little bit, Sevket, already. Question from Mark, but Mark wanted to iterate it more. Mark, would you like to add something, or would you like to answer? Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So we use on-premise runtimes. And so currently we are on 4.6.9, I think. And we're going to migrate to 4.9, and 4.9 obviously uses Java 17. And so what we're trying to look into is like, so what are the recommendations that Mulesoft gives when it comes to Java 17 for when it comes to the wrapper conf? Are there any recommendations? For example, let's say you have free APIs that are pretty big. Are there any changes when it comes to Java 8 and 17 when it comes to garbage collecting and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or are there any recommendations that you can guys give when it comes to the wrapper conf?
Yeah, actually, that's a tough question because that really depends on your configurations, your environment, your systems, your network, your design, your build, and your requirements. Yeah, actually, personally, I cannot give any advice or advice on that one. But technically, actually, the existing configurations needs to be adapted, directly usable as the wrapper configuration on the Java 17, and which will going to provide you much more higher performance. That was also one of the main points that was shared before by Mulesoft itself, because of the improved garbage collection, also the just-in-time build of the Java is improved. So together with that, actually, the Mulesoft deployments and everything is improved, actually. So yeah, it is a little bit hard. Also, that depends on what is your loads on the interfaces, what are your loads on the project. So that really needs some custom investigation, actually.
Hello, this is Francis Edwards. I've also had on-premise Mule runtimes, and in the past, my practice has just been to go for the default wrapper.conf that comes with the new installation, because there's usually changes rather than like using the old wrapper.conf from an older version. The newer versions tend to have some optimization or have new configuration parameters. But one thing I would suggest is having a look at feature flags, the Mule runtime feature flags in the documentation, because there's a way of disabling or making sure things are backwardly compatible in the Mule runtime, particularly for things like data weave, because obviously one of the reasons why people have on-premise is to have lots of applications. So if you're going to migrate 30 applications across to a new server with JDK 17 rather than 8 or even 11, you're probably going to find a lot of problems to fix forward quickly. So just get familiar with the feature flags. If you search for feature flags on Mule runtimes, you'll see a number of JVM arguments that you can put in, which will go into the config wrapper that'll control how the Mule runtime interprets some of the Mule applications that you're running on it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Francis. Rob, I think you have some question which you thought to ask at later point of time. Rob?
Yes, you all hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, okay. We're having custom SDK components written in for Java 8. When we upgrade the Mule APIs, which you do use this Java 8 SDKs, there's another way to just rebuild the API itself. We should upgrade the SDK components to Java 17, or it depends of what kind of components they use for Java 8. But my assumption is we need to upgrade the SDK components first and use them in the new upgraded Java 17 Mule APIs.
Yes, that's also the recommendation from Mulesoft as well. Like, so you have to update to the JDK 17 and then to upgrade your custom policies or custom configurations if you have any.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Francis Edwards again. I've had some experience in trying to update the SDKs as well, yes. Using things like the Mule module parent. And I haven't been able to get things like a custom logger updated, which is an SDK. I switched to using an XML XDK. I think that's what they call it, the XML-based connectors, rather than trying to update some Java SDKs. Java, it was simpler. It was more simple to update them to Java 17. So if you can change your connector to use the XML connector rather than the Java connector, that might help you.
Thank you for your tip. Okay, thank you.
I think there is a question from Eda. Sorry, I cannot. I think it's a bit tough for me to.
Q&A, yeah.
Yeah. What is the recommended process to upgrade in test, pre-prod, and production once you are migrated in dev on any point studio and then get? For me, at least, like we don't see if you are successfully. The first thing which you have to make sure is that your pipelines are updated And in case if you are able to successfully deploy your projects in your Anypoint Studio and you have a successful deployment, it doesn't mean that, of course, it's true that with your deployments, it might also fail, that sometimes you might not have relevant dependencies which needs to be pulled from your repositories or during your pipeline migration. But the recommended process is like make sure that your applications are running fine in your pre-prod environments, and then do your testings and then go for production. That's what we opted for. But others can also give the recommendation in case if you have some other way of more having this process of upgrading.
Yeah, any answer is welcome. That if anyone has having this experience. To be honest, I didn't had yet, so I cannot advise on this thing. If not, Fabrizio.
Yes. I don't understand if in our POM XML we have to use up runtime 4.6 Java 17 or 4.6.12 and the difference between those versions.
I can answer that. It depends if you're using CI/CD pipelines for deployment. I've found that some of my developers have had the exact thing that you're describing, 4.6.9, rather than 4.6-Java 17, and it breaks the CI/CD pipelines. I wasn't able to run the Mule Maven plugin to deploy when it was 4.6.9, but I was when it was 4.6-Java 17.
Yeah, that depends most of your pipeline design, actually, how you are using the versioning and how you are splitting the parameters. The biggest difference is actually when you use like I demoed with a specific version, you are canceling the automatic updates. Actually, you are ignoring the release channel. Because it's trying to keep until this asset is still available by the Mulesoft repos or your local repo storage, it will force to use this runtime version. But if you use like for 6 Java 8, Java 17, during the deployment, it will try to automatically update to the latest build versions. So.
Okay, thank you.
And also, I think as previously Satish mentioned, it also depends on Urge and LTS long-term channel support versions. Maybe that also differs. If you use Java 17, it directly uses your release channel as long-term support.
No, it uses Edge as a default.
Yeah, by default. But if you use 4.6-Java 17, then it takes as long-term support, right?
You have to use that and the Cloud Hub deployment property LTS.
Yes.
It's a two-step. So.
Okay.
And remember, a lot of people who install Studio forget to update their Mule runtimes. So if, for example, you have an older version of Studio, let's say you have 7.19 and you have 4.6.9 installed, but you haven't updated to the latest Mule runtime. If you didn't have 4.6-Java 17, when you push it to Cloud Hub, 4.6. The older version is not available on Cloud Hub, and that's what causes the failures too.
Was there a question there?
I was just saying that it's a good to have the latest version of Studio with the latest versions of Mule runtimes in Studio, because Cloud Hub itself deprecates older versions of Mule runtime.
Right. Actually,
Also be careful about it. Starting from 7.21, actually, Studio will going to start dropping the support for Java 8 and 11. So moving to latest versions can also cause you to lose your access to your old projects. So before updating Studios, please follow up the release notes of the new Studio versions, because that can also corrupt your workspace, and maybe you need to reinstall an older version. but that also caused some additional troubles trying to downgrade always. So please follow up the release notes before updating Studio.
Actually, what I'm doing in my shop, we have a lot of developers. I'm asking them to have 2 separate copies because we have to do production support. So the existing version that they're using, I will leave it for prod support. And as they're upgrading their apps, I'm asking them install a separate copy of Studio with actually the latest one that was released 721, I believe supports Java 17 only with 4.9x runtime. And that's where I'm targeting right now. So I have asked them to have separate copies of Studio and separate copies of workspaces as well.
Yeah, I'm also using the same logic, Satish. So if something goes wrong, actually, I'm warning my colleagues immediately. So these are the results. So you need to be careful, or you can easily start moving to the new versions. I prefer also using the same method. So it's an efficient one. Thanks.
Another thing I actually posted in Q&A, the Maven versions that I had to use, I had to roll back. I was asked in the middle to use the latest V3, and I did upgrade to V3, and it worked actually, the pipeline deployment. However, what happened was the deploy process, it would deploy and check for the deployment status immediately, and it would fail the deployment, the pipeline. However, the deploy still is continuing in the background. It deploys and everything. It's just that my pipeline failed because it's trying to immediately check for the status of the deployment, whereas it should wait for the status. So
Just
if I go ahead.
Just out of interest, which version of Maven was it? At the beginning of the meetup, we were having discussion about JDK's Maven.
I posted that in the Q&A. It's V1. I posted both of them.
Okay.
And I went to V3. It was recommended to go to V2, and even that did not work. So when I scaled back to V1, everything works as expected.
I've set up on my local machine PowerShell, and I'm able to switch between JDKs that I'm using and switch between Mavens. I was using Maven 3.9.6 because that's the version that's inside Studio, but I did update to 3.9.9 because I saw on the Mulesoft community Slack that somebody had tried it and was having problems. But I have been able to get it to work when I switch my JDK to 17 and my Mule Maven to 3.9.9. I'm able to run my build pipelines, and I'm not getting a problem with the check status afterwards.
Yeah, so do I. My problem is we are a big shop. I have like 60 people, and I don't expect all of them to keep on switching back and forth. So it's more trouble for me to actually guide them switching back and forth. That's the reason why I actually requested to have separate installations for both of them. The other thing, using Maven 3.9.6 and above, I had issues with the minutes. And there is a specific article telling that the minutes are not working. In fact, I went to 3.9.8 and even the higher version. 3.9.8 somehow did, I believe it did work, but we also use X-ray scanning tools outside the regular build and deploy, and I had some issues with the X-ray scanning. We use JFrog for X-ray scanning. So I had some issues with that, but that's a separate conversation. But 3.9.6 is perfectly working good, actually, frankly speaking, for all scenarios.
Thanks for that heads up. I did notice my company had got the Sonar Cube plugin for Mulesoft enabled today.
Another thing I'm looking at. Sorry to interrupt you for the Mule Maven plugin. Also, I had to scale back, but on my recent version, there were some updates I did put back to, I believe it's version 4.4.0. And I had to scale that back as well until recently. So I don't know which update fixed it, but I think it was a minute update, but I did put it back to 4.4, but there are some issues. So there are very specific combinations that it will work. And if you do not follow that stream of combinations, there are things that will fail randomly.
Yes, I've experienced the same thing with older versions of MUnit plugin and Mule Maven plugin. At the moment, I think the latest is 3.40 and 3.40 for both Mule Maven and MUnit plugins, respectively. I have found in the past that if you're using like a 3.21 of the MUnit plugin, you need to use the 3.3 version of the MUnit of the Mule Maven plugin. Yes, they are interrelated in some way.
Yes, I think we also had the same problem with Mule Maven version before. After upgrading to 3.9.6, it started working fine. Yeah.
I wish Mulesoft could put some matrix together of what versions work together.
Exactly. Yes,
That
yes.
would
I think
help
that,
actually.
Yeah,
yeah,
actually, one of the biggest problems was, for example, by the Mule Maven plugin, also the CloudUp deployment parameters are changed. So they have added the release channels. Also, Mule Maven deploy plugin also had some problems. So actually, it is sometimes really hard to follow up actually which combination is the perfect one. That really depends on the situation actually. If your pipeline supports different parameters, for example, you can use 3.6 series, 3.9 series or 3.8 series without problem. But if you are using Java specific version on your pipeline, for example, if it's designed to work like that, so you cannot easily go to 3.9 series on CloudUp. So you need to take a look into your pipelines. That was also one of the questions, I guess. So before going live or production, it is really hardly advised to test all the functionalities of your code. So not only flows, but the error handlings, components, connectors, loggers, every pipelines, every functionality needs to be checked, because this is a really breaking change actually.
exactly. Yeah. Rob, do you have a question? I think you raised your hand. Yes.
Yes, I have a question. It's regarding Anypoint Studio. We are using on-premise runtimes at our company, and when we use a certain version of Anypoint Studio, and there is a bug in Anypoint Studio, they adjust. We get a higher version of Anypoint Studio, but the problem is that we get the latest and greatest Mule runtime version. And I think it's a year ago we could choose a runtime version. Do you have further inside information if this will be fixed inside Anypoint Studio, that we can select an older runtime version?
You can select like the minor and major version, but you cannot select the patch version anymore.
Yeah, but we use on-premise runtimes, so we have several hundreds of Mule runtimes with the fixed version,
No.
and that you you can't get aligned with this. We have some problems with that. We have created a case at Mulesoft, but the latest and greatest versions of Anypoint Studio it isn't still fixed.
Yeah, the only way that you can achieve this problem is actually by injecting all the runtimes onto your plugin folder of your Anypoint Studio. So if you place an older version of the runtime, like 4.6.4 right now, you can still run your new studio with 4.6.4. So you cannot download the latest version from external systems or Exchange, but you can still, if you have the original runtime plugin, actually you can still place it under your studio folder and you can use it.
Okay. We tried that; it doesn't work.
We tried that, but we had some problems because we couldn't select it in Anypoint Studio.
Yeah.
I recommend staying with that, as we said earlier, specific version of Studios to match your runtimes. I myself have got 720 and updated 720 to 721, and that still enabled me to install old Mule runtimes. because it had the JDK 8 plugin in the plugins directory.
Yeah, but it's not an option because within our company, another team does the software releases on the laptop. So if I give them instructions, hey, can you upgrade Anypoint Studio? Maybe today it's 4.9.1, and maybe next week it's 4.9.2.
Yeah, true. But you can download older versions of Anypoint Studio, and I think was it 7.12? It had the embedded JDK, which didn't need administrator privileges. I have the same issue. My laptops are locked down, but you could download older versions so far back with a special embedded JDK that doesn't require admin privileges. I think it was about 7.12 or 7.14. But if you go to help.mulesoft.com, log into support, go to resources, there's a downloads tile, and you can get the older versions. But I wouldn't go further back than 7.12.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Thank you.
I think we are about the time 6:30, and thank you very much everyone for your active participation. And I think with this discussions, we really yes, it's really nice to exchange the issues and problems, and also it helps us it gives some idea of resolutions and how others are using this upgrade process and other things. Yes.
Before dropping, let's have a screenshot with the cameras open to share in our chat and even maybe on LinkedIn. So anyone is available, please turn on the camera and say Muleys. All right.
Muleys.
Yeah, everyone's here. All right.
Satish, you're in a bit dark, I guess. I think we would like to see you. Yeah, you share really nice insights.
I have a lot of background.
Okay. And thanks, Francis, as well for your valuable insights. And
No, you
everyone.
guys rock. Yeah, I thought that the Poland Warsaw group was one of the best ones, but no, you guys have really got some good information. I think Hamburg once did the SAP connectors, but yeah, this one's been a good session.
Thanks, Francis. Thank you. Thank
Then
you, everyone.
I'm getting the screenshot now. And let's go more. I'm doing
This is what you get actually. Working on the pipeline.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a lovely evening and weekend. Yeah, hope to see you in the next meetup. We will be in touch hopefully.
Thank you so much.